talking about the righteous and all those who have acted against this genocide. And they have proven, as Senator Segre said, that it's always possible to make a choice, a decision. They have been the guardians of humanity somehow. And in the stories that we honored at Montestella Garden, we saw the importance of the action of individual righteous to try and change history and the direction followed by history. So we'll start knowing those who have been honored this morning to try and understand why the stories of all these people can teach something on prevention of genocide. Starting from Henry Morgenthau, American ambassador, who had to, of course, face the Armenian genocide. And we'll do that with two important guests, the great grandson of Henry Morgenthau, Mr. Christopher London, accompanied by the Honorary Consul of the Republic of Armenia in Italy, Pietro Kuciukian. Please come to the podium. Let me start with the first question for the great-grandson of Ambassador Henry Morgenthau. Let's talk about this ambassador, this very important example. Ambassador Morgenthau observed and saw what was happening to the Armenian people and tried in all possible ways to denounce what was happening. But the world around him did not listen to him. So what does it mean? How did the world react? And let me ask this to Mr. London.
So, Ambassador Morgenthau began his post in a conventional job as ambassador, and the world was at peace. And then the world deteriorated, and the European powers began to go to war with one another. And the German ambassador was advising the Turks to ally with them, and so the other European powers vacated Constantinople, and Ambassador Morgenthau was thrust into the position of representing those various governments as well as the United States. And at that time, the suggestion was made that the Armenian people who were Christian in what was developing as the first Muslim state with a Muslim, sole Muslim identity, which was a sort of novel idea in the 20th century, they decided to exclude the Christian and people who were living there. So that was a large group of Armenian people who had settled in Turkey for many, many centuries and were vitally integrated into the country and its history and its cultural identity. And it also included Greeks who had settled there. And so the people in the north of Turkey were first impacted, and they were driven from their homes, and their property was seized, and then many were killed, men and boys first, and the women and children were marched for very many miles, inhumanely, not fed. And when the opportunity presented itself, they were shot and buried in mass graves without marking. And that continued, and they moved further south. This was because the Muslim governors of the empire had greatly weakened in their ability to rule. A weak son was appointed to run the country and so forth. And the three men who were running the country wanted to secure their power, partly by finding a group that they could blame and victimize in this process. So they also would have benefited from the wealth of the Armenian people, because once you exterminate the entire family, then they were able to try and seize all the life insurance policies of these people, which was proposed to Ambassador Morgenthau, and he refused to help facilitate that, and it was clear that he needed to help people escape. So in 1915, when this crisis peaked, I suppose, or crested, or began to peak, he worked very hard to publicize the story, and my family are German Jewish, meaning we settled in New York in the mid-19th century. My family were prosperous, and with these other group of people that were in that sort of world, they formed a small circle. So one of the people that we were friendly with was a man named Adolf Oakes. He owned the New York Times. And Henry Morgenthau was able to communicate with him very directly, and 145 newspaper articles were published in the New York Times alone to make people aware of the Armenian crisis. You couldn't miss that if you were reading the paper at that time. These things are all published in two books that Ambassador Morgenthau wrote. Then he also raised, through friends, in about a month's time, 3 weeks, something like that, $100 million, which is a considerable amount of money in that era. And he created a fund to try and help the Armenian people escape and survive once they left, if they were able to escape. He also saved people and harbored them in the embassy. He provided funds for them. He helped them get on boats and to escape the country. So it was a very uncomfortable job that he was given all of a sudden, and it also was something that the American government wasn't totally comfortable with, and so he was not asked to be reappointed as ambassador, and in 1916 he ceased service and he came back to the United States. So that's pretty much the kind of work that he did, and then what he did after that very carefully was he documented what had occurred, who he had met, the conversations he had had with people in government, and so on, in several books. And then he went to work for the Greek people, again, for the United States government, but not as an ambassador, but as a negotiator. So it's the formula that you can see repeated throughout the 20th century, and now, I suppose, in the 21st, quite poignantly, of creating a sense of tribal identity within a group, and then once you have the attention of one tribe, then you get them to turn against the other people in their country, and then you seize their assets and you demean them as a group, and you are able to remove them comfortably without feeling guilty. And you have a political success in the process of doing that. That was another reason they did that. So I hope that answers the question.
Kuciukian, after this answer describing Ambassador Morgenthau, what, in your opinion, does the story of this righteous mean? And what does talking about the story of this righteous, but also about Metzeger, the Armenian genocide, mean for genocide prevention? And before meeting Gabriele, there already was an International Committee for the Righteous and the Armenians that I founded in 1985. And based on that, I was looking for righteous all around the world. Until a lady, an Armenian lady who lived here in Milan, told me that the ambassador, Morgenthau, had saved her So I got interested in that, and after a long investigation, I decided to go and see the family, his family in New York. So we went to Mount Pleasant, and Christopher told me that it's called Walhalla Cemetery, right? And we have taken some ground. There are pictures, you can see them now. We have taken some land, some ground there. The rabbi was there, and there was a ceremony. And I've taken that to Armenia, and it was taken there to be put in the wall of remembrance, in the wall of memory. But why is he important? Why is he so important? Because probably it is one of the rarest occasions when killers and the savior meet and they keep talking. So they exchange ideas. And Morgenthau met these people almost every day, and he tried to understand. And they told him, well, you are a Jew. Why are you getting interested in Christians, in Armenians? And he answered, Mr. Morgenthau answered, well, it's a matter of humanity. There isn't any matter of ethnicity or race. But then he asks, why do you kill Armenians? Why do you exterminate people? Why do you kill the elderly, children, and youngsters? And he said, and Talat said, the innocents of today will be the culprits of tomorrow. And the pivotal moment, which is really annoying for Harry Morgenthau the first, we have here the fourth, was when Armenians had been massacred, had been exterminated, and he went to see Tanatorum there, and he said, now that no more Armenians exist, insurance policies they had with American companies, life insurance, must be given to us. They're ours, Turkey's. So a little after, he went back to America, and he was really impressed, and he also wrote his memoirs that were translated into Italian, publishing house Morini. It was a book about that. But that was not the end, because he started recovering orphans, and he founded a mere society with other people to, of course, raise huge amounts of money, like $1 billion, to try and help all these poor Armenians, orphans, who were scattered throughout the country. He also got interested in Jews. He was not a convinced Zionist, but he went to Poland with the pogrom to help Jews.